Angel Reese's rookie season was supposed to mark a new era of stardom and mainstream traction for the WNBA. Just months ago, she and other breakout stars were drawing unprecedented headlines, pushing women's basketball into the spotlight. But now, that momentum has evaporated. The league's relevance has vanished just as fast as it appeared, and behind the scenes, financial chaos is taking hold. With media interest cooling and broadcasters hesitant to commit long-term, the CBA failure isn't just a labor issue. It's a symptom of a deeper structural decline. The demands for revenue sharing may sound fair, but the reality is clear. The money just isn't there and never really was. The current showdown isn't simply about dollars. It's about whether this league can survive another misstep. Unlike in men's leagues, WNBA players are largely economically replaceable, making collective leverage hard to.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Meanwhile, team owners, many of whom are already absorbing losses, have little incentive to meet demands that could accelerate financial instability. If the season collapses or a strike goes through, the long-term damage won't just be reputational. It could wipe out the league entirely. Women's pro basketball in America is facing a make-or-break moment, and without a pragmatic agreement, there's little hope of a comeback. 6 months ago, the WNBA was everywhere. Social feeds, headlines, late-night talk shows. It was the cultural moment no one could ignore. But now, it's nearly silent. And not because fans stopped caring overnight, but because the league's momentum collapsed under the weight of its own unresolved problems. A league that once felt unstoppable is now in the middle of a full-blown crisis, with the 2026 season hanging by a thread. The trigger? A catastrophic failure to reach a new collective bargaining agreement. The players want a bigger slice of the pie, but the league says there's no pie to split. And as talks fell apart, so did the illusion that everything was working. In truth, the WNBA was always balancing on a financial tightrope. At the center of all this chaos is Caitlin Clark. She's not just the face of the league. She is the league. Every highlight reel, every sold-out arena, every spike in merch sales over the last year can be traced back to her. The irony is that while she's expected to be the league's savior, her presence also exposes how fragile the system really is. Because if Clark gets injured or sits out in protest, everything falls apart. That's not hyperbole. It's the uncomfortable truth behind the WNBA's recent success. The revenue boost? Tied to her. The mainstream attention? Mostly because of her. The league's dependence on one player isn't just risky, it's unsustainable. In recent press appearances, Clark hasn't said much directly about the CBA impasse, but her silence is louder than most statements. There's tension in the air, on her face, in her tone, because whether she likes it or not, she's been pulled into the labor dispute, and her every move now carries weight. Fans look to her for reassurance, while media outlets dissect her body language for clues. Is she preparing to walk? Is she aligned with the players demanding revenue sharing? Or is she quietly aware that the math just doesn't work? The pressure isn't just on the league. It's on the few players who still move the needle. When Clark does speak, she keeps it diplomatic. She talks about growing the game and long-term stability, but that's code for the real issue. How do you grow a league that doesn't make money? The players want a model like the NBA, revenue splits, profit sharing, power. But there's one huge problem. The WNBA doesn't generate enough revenue to share. Most teams are still losing money. And that's not a secret. It's a core part of the negotiations. The league's leadership says they can't agree to profit sharing when profits barely exist. The players argue it's about fairness. And both sides are digging in. Last season's record attendance, viral moments, and sold-out games made everything look rosy on the surface. But it turns out the numbers weren't enough. Yes, Clark filled arenas. Yes, the merch flew off shelves. But the league's underlying structure, independent owners, operating losses, inconsistent media deals, didn't change. So while fans were cheering courtside, the league's financial model stayed broken. The bump in viewership didn't rewrite the books. Instead, it raised expectations the league couldn't meet. And now, as contract talks collapse, that glitzy season feels like a distant memory. Angel Reese, another breakout star and media magnet, has also become a key voice in this moment. In interviews, she hasn't held back. She's vocal about equity, about demanding more. Her stance is bold, but it underscores the larger disconnect. Because for players like Reese, this is about respect and recognition. But for the league, it's about survival. They're not saying no out of spite. They're saying no because they genuinely can't afford to say yes. And that's where the tension sharpens. The players want to reshape the league, but they may end up breaking it instead. Sabrina Ionescu, once hailed as the future of the league before Clark's rise, has echoed similar frustrations. She talks about professionalism, about wanting a league that operates on the same level as the men's. But even she acknowledges the reality. The money just isn't there yet. There's a painful irony here. The league is finally getting attention, finally seeing growth, and it might all unravel because they try to leap too far, too fast. The star players aren't wrong to push for more, but the league isn't wrong to push back either. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has tried to strike a balancing act. In press briefings, she's praised the players while stressing the league's limitations. But her words haven't been enough. The players think the league's being stingy. The league thinks the players are ignoring economic reality. Engelbert has warned that if games are missed, the consequences will be severe. Sponsors will walk. TV deals could be renegotiated or lost entirely. The fans that just showed up might not return. The risk of a shutdown isn't theoretical. It's real. Even NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, who's long supported the WNBA, has distanced himself slightly. He's emphasized that while the NBA wants to help, it won't bail the league out. He's made it clear the WNBA needs to become self-sustaining. Silver's comments haven't gone unnoticed. They signal a shift in tone from support to warning. If the WNBA can't get its house in order, the NBA's support won't be enough to save it. And without a CBA, there may not be anything left to save. The broader picture is bleak. If the season gets canceled, the league could fold. There's no fallback plan, no thriving rival league waiting in the wings. Women's professional basketball in the U.S. could take a generational hit, setting back everything that's been built. Sponsors won't wait around. Networks won't give second chances. And players won't have another platform like this. The risk isn't just a lost season, it's a lost league. And it's all because the numbers stopped adding up. The bottom line is harsh. The players have dreams, the league has limits, and both are playing a game they can't afford to lose. If they don't find a middle ground, like fixed salaries with guaranteed bumps, the WNBA's next big moment might be its last. Let us know where you stand on this. Are the players right to demand more? Or is the league being realistic? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you want the WNBA to survive, and subscribe for the next chapter in this unfolding saga. For fans who've followed this league for years, the mood has shifted from excitement to dread. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. The 2024 season felt like a breakthrough. Sold-out crowds, buzzy debates, national TV coverage. Now, just 2 years later, those same fans are bracing for a shutdown. Not because the sport lost its magic, but because the business couldn't keep up. Clark's rise was supposed to be a new chapter, but it's starting to look like an epilogue. It's not her fault. If anything, her breakout season exposed just how shallow the league's foundation really is. When one player becomes the whole marketing plan, there's no room for injury, burnout, or bargaining. There's just pressure, endless pressure to keep the lights on. In a recent sit-down, Clark dodged direct questions about the league's future. She pivoted to the bigger picture, but everyone could read between the lines. She's walking a tightrope, too vocal, and she alienates league execs. Too quiet, and she risks losing credibility with fellow players. Either way, the stakes are huge. Clark knows she's not just playing basketball anymore. She's become a bargaining chip, a symbol, and, frankly, the league's most valuable asset. But how long can one person carry a professional sport on their back? especially when the system behind her is unraveling in real time. During post-game interviews last season, you could see the exhaustion start to creep in. Not just physical, but emotional. Clark was fielding more questions about league finances and media contracts than box scores and assists. Her smile stayed on, but the subtext was clear. She didn't sign up to be the last line of defense. It's a harsh reality, because while she's selling out arenas, the owners are still sending balance sheets into the red. And now she's being asked indirectly to pick a side. The players who want change, or the executives begging for patience. There's no neutral ground anymore. Clark's most telling comment came when she was asked if she'd support a work stoppage. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She said, "We all want what's best for the league." That's not a non-answer. That's someone very aware of how fragile this entire thing has become. Because what's best for the league? Is it survival? Is it fairness? Is it giving players a voice, or giving the league a chance to grow without collapsing? Every answer leads to more problems. And with negotiations officially stalled, the window to figure it out is closing fast. Photos from last season tell a different story. Packed stadiums, fans in Clark jerseys, kids holding signs. On the surface, it looked like everything was finally clicking. But the scoreboard never shows the league's profit margins, or lack of them. That's what makes this so frustrating for supporters. They saw the growth. They saw the potential. And now it feels like everything's slipping away. Because no amount of enthusiasm can erase the cold math. Popularity doesn't equal profit. Not yet. And maybe not ever under the current setup. Angel Reese hasn't held back. In one particularly pointed interview, she said players shouldn't have to beg for basic equity. Her message resonated, especially with younger fans. But behind the applause, there's an uncomfortable question. What happens if they keep demanding more, and the league can't give it? That's the fear no one wants to say out loud. That the push for fairness might outpace what the league can handle. That stars like Reese and Clark will walk, and there won't be a league to return to. And no one, not players, not owners, not fans, wants to admit how close that edge really is. Speaking, Sabrina Ionescu, once the face of the WNBA's future, now finds herself in a strange position. She's still elite, still a draw, but she knows firsthand how fast the spotlight can shift. Her recent comments reflect that shift, more guarded, more strategic. She's talked about respecting both sides and finding sustainable solutions. That's code for, this isn't simple. And she's right. The league isn't just fighting over dollars. It's fighting over whether it can even exist in the way fans now expect. That's a much scarier battle. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is stuck in a no-win scenario. Say yes to player demands, and the league may financially implode. Say no, and she risks a strike that could end it anyway. She's tried to reframe the conversation, offering growth projections and alternate compensation models, but none of it has stuck. Because for the players, it's not just about money. It's about feeling heard. But for Engelbert, it has to be about math. And the math says the league can't support the vision the players are demanding. At least not yet. That disconnect isn't going away. Adam Silver's remarks have only intensified the pressure. When even the NBA commissioner starts sounding worried, people pay attention. His comments weren't dramatic, but they were pointed. He said the WNBA needs to find its own balance and become operationally sound. Translation: this isn't a charity. The NBA won't keep floating the league forever. That kind of backing was meant to get them started, not carry them indefinitely. And if the CBA fails again, that support might disappear altogether. The WNBA needs to prove it can stand on its own. Photos from last season feel like relics now. The crowds, the energy, the hope, it all seems distant. And unless something drastic changes, those images might become part of a cautionary tale. Proof that even momentum can't save a league that doesn't adapt. There's still time, but not much. If the players and league leadership can't find common ground, if egos stay in the way, the damage will be permanent. There's no reset button, no soft landing, just an empty schedule, unpaid contracts, and the slow fade of a sport that almost broke through. Right now, the league feels like it's frozen in time, caught in a standoff that's gone from tense to tragic. There's no training camp buzz, no draft talk, no game countdowns. Just silence. And that silence feels louder by the day. For Caitlin Clark, who's become the emotional anchor for thousands of new fans, the weight of that silence is impossible to ignore. You can feel the shift. Last year, her social feeds were filled with game highlights and fan meetups. Now, vague updates, recycled promos. The buzz has turned into a holding pattern. She knows the stakes. Everyone does. But knowing doesn't make any of this easier to fix, especially when the league's entire identity is being rewritten in real time. In recent interviews, Clark's tone has changed. There's a hesitation now, like she's measuring every word, because one misstep could alienate teammates, ownership, or fans. When she was asked directly whether she'd support a lockout, she paused for a beat too long. Then she gave a textbook answer about unity and progress. But that pause? That was the real answer. She knows what's coming. The players are unified publicly, but behind the scenes, not everyone agrees on how far to push. Clark is stuck in the middle, biggest star in a league that may not be able to afford her. And that tension isn't going anywhere. At her last press conference, a reporter asked how she felt about potentially missing the next season. Her answer was diplomatic, but the look on her face said everything. Disappointment, frustration, maybe even a bit of disbelief that it's gotten this bad. She's used to controlling a game, controlling the narrative. But now, she's watching from the sidelines like everyone else, powerless to stop what feels like a slow-motion collapse. And while she stays composed for the cameras, there's no question this situation is wearing her down. When Clark finally opened up during a podcast appearance, her words hit different. She talked about her love for the game, her responsibility to younger players, and a reality that none of that matters if the league doesn't exist next year. There was no fake optimism, just realism, a quiet admission that the system is broken and no one knows how to fix it fast enough. Clark's tone wasn't bitter, it was tired. Tired of being the glue, the face, the headline. She just wants to play, but she's stuck doing damage control for a league on life support. Last season's game day photos feel like they came from another era. Packed crowds, high fives, record-breaking buzzer beaters. It was the peak of something, maybe the last peak before the fall. Every time the league posts a throwback highlight, fans flood the comments asking the same thing. Are we even having a season? It's not nostalgia, it's desperation. Everyone's clinging to those images because they might be the last ones for a long time. Angel Reese hasn't toned anything down. If anything, her message has sharpened. In a recent interview, she said, "We brought the world to this league, and now they want to act like we're disposable." It's a harsh line, but it landed. Hard. She's not just speaking for herself. She's speaking for every player who finally saw a shot at real influence, only to get stonewalled. But the irony is brutal. Without the league, there's no platform. And without compromise, there might be no league. Reese is right to demand respect, but even she knows time is running out. Ionescu's public appearances have been more cautious. She's not as fiery as Reese, but her disappointment is just as clear. She's talked about unfinished business and fighting for the future, but there's also a growing sense that this might be a last stand. She was once hailed as the next big thing. Now, she's watching a league she helped build unravel in front of her. Her legacy, Clark's legacy, Reese's legacy, they're all tied to a league that may not survive the year. And that's the quiet heartbreak sitting underneath every player's. Kathy Engelbert has become the league's face by necessity. She's fronting press conferences, issuing statements, and trying to calm sponsors behind the scenes. But her messaging is starting to crack. The phrase she keeps repeating is long-term health, but no one's sure what that even means anymore. If there's no season, there's no future to build on. Her office says talks are ongoing. The players say they've walked. And fans? They're stuck watching both sides run out the clock. Adam Silver's recent remarks didn't sugarcoat anything. He said the WNBA's financial model needs revision before it can expand. Translation: don't expect any lifelines. The NBA has its own issues, and it's not going to keep subsidizing a league that can't close its own deals. For years, WNBA critics said the league was dependent on the NBA. Now, that dependency is being pulled back, and without it, the WNBA has to prove it can stand on its own, which, at the moment, looks increasingly doubtful. There's a finality to the way fans are sharing old highlights. It feels like a digital vigil. Threads of best moments, farewell messages, and what could have been montages. The season hasn't been canceled yet, but emotionally, people are already mourning it. No one wants to believe it's over. But even hope has a breaking point. And for many fans, we're already there. Right now, everyone's just waiting. Waiting for a statement. Waiting for a deal. Waiting for someone to blink first. But silence is starting to feel like the only thing this league knows how to deliver. And the longer it goes, the worse it gets. Because fans don't wait forever. Sponsors don't wait forever. Hope doesn't wait forever. Caitlin Clark might not say it out loud, but she knows this could be the breaking point. Not just for her career, but for the entire WNBA. She didn't sign up to be the last domino standing, but that's what it's become. Everyone's watching her, expecting her to do something. Anything to stop the free fall. But she's just one player. And right now, even her influence has limits. There's something surreal about scrolling through last season's photos. Every game was a moment. Every shot felt historic. Clark with her arms up, the fans on their feet, jerseys flying off shelves. And now, it all feels like the memory of a league that peaked too soon. We're not just talking about missed games anymore. We're talking about the possible disappearance of women's professional basketball as we know it. Not because the talent isn't there. Not because the fans walked away. But because the people in charge couldn't find a way to make it work. It's not too late, but it's close. Let us know how you're feeling about all this. Drop a comment. Share this if you care about the future of the league. And hit that subscribe button. We'll be here for whatever happens next.